Thanks for joining me for this meditation snack. Assemble some props so that you can maintain the curve at the back of the knee, the curve in the low back, and the curve at the back of the neck. So you come to lying down on your mat. Curve under the low back is helpful for those with a big arch to relax down into, and for those whose backs relax too much to the floor, this will prevent it from flattening all the way. And the closer the bolster is to your buttocks, the more the pubic bone will lift, and the further away, closer to the knees, the pubic bone will drop. So adjust it until the hip points and the pubic bone are level. The roll of your hand towel or a section of a mat that was cut up, as I'm using, is under the low back, which might include the very top of the pelvis, but not the ribs. And then the blanket cushions the head because the floor gets hard. And a tiny roll, really moderate, not aggressive, so the chin and the forehead still are about level. Okay, so you're in this radical act of lying down to meditate. And if you fall asleep, then you'll know that you need to get more sleep. And what your body needs more than anything is sleep. And that can be helpful because that's going to help your nervous system and your thoughts. And it's going to help your presence in life is if you're that deeply sleep deprived that you quickly fall asleep. It's an important thing to learn from your shavasanas or your meditation practice. And the dullness that lying down can bring is why many schools of meditation say not to lie down. But I like it because it's very grounding for Vata types. Much more of your body is on the floor. So if your thoughts tend to be chaotic and busy and you're really far from sleeping, lying down can be a useful technique that you can try once in a while. So observe the thoughts without judgment or with judgment. That's fine too. Just noticing the judgment. And notice in particular if the thoughts are future-oriented or past-oriented. If the thoughts are future-oriented, it makes our bodies a little more anxious, or we are anxious, and then our thoughts become more future-oriented. It's chicken or the egg. If your thoughts are more in the past, it can make us sad or depressed or have regret. It can make us heavy and tired. And there's nothing wrong with spending time in the past. We do need to look to the past to learn from mistakes and to review our performance and to be thoughtful and to study history and learn from it. And we certainly need to spend some time orienting towards the future to make plans and be responsible. And we just don't want to live the lived experience of life to be in the future or in the past, that the present is the last place we want to be. If we feel that way, like, oof, just being here now is no good, and you're more comfortable in the habit of future or past thinking, then we know that meditation can help us. So coming into the present moment is where life actually happens. And that's why people distract themselves so much with games and shows and things. It brings us into the present, the story that's being told now, or the game that we're doing now, or the crossword puzzle that we're doing now. But distraction only works so much, and we can build our tolerance for being present. Best way to do this, I've found, is to drop into the feeling of the body, that the thoughts are just one cluttered corner of this vast architecture of the experience of the self, and the body is this glorious temple. So much internal geography to explore. So feel the weight of the heels on the floor, the weight of the legs. And if your legs were to make an impression as though you were lying in sand, what's the shape each leg would make? Allow them to be different. Feel the weight of the buttocks. Are they level? Is one heavier? Is the impression that one makes larger than the other? Enjoy the natural arch of the back, and then feel how the rib cage sinks again towards the floor. And the left side of the rib cage and the right side of the rib cage often feel differently from each other. Notice those differences, and they're just fine as they are. Allow the shoulder blades to be broad and heavy and wide, like a beautiful fieldstone walk or a big piece of slate heavy on the earth. Arms long and heavy. Notice one wrist might pop up more than the other. One shoulder head might pop up more than the other. That's totally normal and fine. And then notice the movement of the breath as it follows the undulating shape of the body. Knees are higher than the feet, pelvis is lower than the knees, low back is higher than the pelvis, rib cage is lower than the low back, the neck arches up away from the floor, higher than the ribs. And the skull is heavy, lower than the arch of the neck. Lightly extend the breath like you're reaching a hand out to it, inviting it more than pushing it, inviting it to go all the way down to the pelvis. All the way down the left thigh to the left knee, to the left lower leg and heel and foot. Even filling out the toes and the spaces between the toes. And the next inhale brings the breath flush all the way down into the pelvis and down the right thigh, to the right knee, to the right calf and heel, the arch. Flooding or trickling or washing down into the toes and the space between the toes. And let the wave-like movement of this easy, natural breath bring awareness, an internal touch, a sensation of presence through the pelvis, both legs, both knees, both feet. Next, feel the breath in the belly and how it, imagine it moving the digestive system, helping the body digest, feeling the contents move and shift, rotate. The organs are massaged by the breath, moved with the swell of the inhale, relaxing back into place with the exhale. Bring your attention to the rib cage, often the place we feel the breath the most clearly. A gentle rise and fall of the breath as it moves the ribs. All 12 pairs of ribs, like blinds, opening with the inhale and closing with the exhale. Allow the arms to be like wide, heavy hoses left out on the lawn. And as you exhale, the last bits of water trickle out through the fingertips. The arms are limp and heavy and very relaxed. Allow the breath to move through the corridor of the throat and fill the cavernous open space of the head. Moving freely behind your cheeks and through the large cathedral ceiling of the mouth, the upper palate domed and full and tall, soaring. And let the breath wash and bathe the eyes, soothing them, cooling them. They become smaller. They shrink away from the edges of the eye sockets, and they fall asleep like a cat in the sun. Wash the brain with the breath, so the brain can relax away from the edges of the skull and settle. And a sense of deep quiet and rest pervade the body. The outer body is very heavy. The internal movement of the body is very slow. And it's this very heaviness and stillness and slowness that fosters a lightness of being. So the experience of being you is light and free. And the pace of your noticing, your experiencing, your direct experience of life, the pace of that experience is directed by the breath. And the clangy, noisy thoughts have all receded far away, reduced to a more appropriate amount of real estate in your being. And the fountainhead of insight is allowed to reveal itself. Instincts, impulses that we honor, allow ourselves to feel and regard. Stay soft and still as you retain a sense of this quiet, heavy, deep, and still place. Orient it to the room around you, hearing sounds, temperature, textures underneath the body, touching the skin. And feel the sensuous richness of information that comes in, this tactile, felt sense of being alive. Allow that to soak in. You're soaking in your surroundings. You're not separate from them. As your breath naturally deepens, the inhale draws life into you. It's a yes to life. And the exhale moves it through you, lets it wash through and away. So you're left with the quiet emptiness at the end of the exhale. Rub the fingers together. Feel the fingers touching your palms. Turn your wrists and ankles, stretch through your arms and legs. Enjoy that deep inhale that comes, that yes to beginning once again. Bend one knee, then the other. Roll to your side. Pause. Soaking in the feeling of the earth. It's quiet, cool stillness. And then press up to an easy seat. Bring your hands to heart center. Bow the head. Namaste.